final period. We've had player changes, 91 players named. Now we've got new umpires out there for this final period of play here at Morwell in this AFL practice match for season 2022 on KO Sports. Joel Peterson and Premiership Hawk Steve Gillam with you. I reckon we've got a few local umpires in here. Steve, in the green?
Yeah, got the call up. And they obviously need the practice and the run around as well. So good to see them getting involved down there at Morwell this afternoon, tonight.
Maybe a bit of club personnel there as well with the pink vests on too, because it might be a bit like sort of junior cricket umpire yourselves type thing. Just get one of the parents to come out there and umpire.
There's been plenty of push and shove and a little bit of feeling in this game, so it'd be interesting if that continues in this last period, if how they handle that.
Absolutely. So long kick inside the 50 from James Blank for the Hawks, one of their VFL players.
Might be Andy Otten out there, is it?
I reckon it might be the former Crow. Tumbling ball to the goal square for the Hawks. Collingwood are going to do enough. Imagine diving across the kick of Hartley there. Good defence from Hawthorn. Saunders inside the 50. Handball given up. Wilson. Now McRae. Big designs on it, Collingwood. Oh, big fly there from Booth, back spot. In the Jordan De Goey, number 2. Any chance you get to play in that, I guess you'll take it. Hardwick along the boundary line, tried to fend off. Did he step out while he was trying to handball? He did.
Yeah, just a bit of structured match play, I guess. That's what they're trying to get out. They're calling different setups and plays out there on the fly, it looks like.
See if we can get a close-up of the umpires at some stage and identify whether that's Andy Otten and maybe a Collingwood support staff member as well out there, which is, I reckon it might be. A bit like the old, you got knocked over for 3 off 7 balls at the top of the order, go and stand at square leg after the 30th over.
When it's about 40 degrees as well.
Yes, pretty much. Wilson across half-back for the Pies. They kicked 18 goals in the opening 3 periods of this game with their best side out there, and that's a nice mark by McInnes. He's shown some signs.
He has. Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure. Whether it's above his head, took a nice pack mark and went back and slotted the goal earlier, or just got poise and knows where he is in space, makes good decisions, doesn't get rushed, got good composure. Showed some really good signs today.
Thank you. Coming to Cameron here. Cameron to Wilson, who sends the Pies long inside the 50 with the left boot. That's a good defensive mark to Blank. We go across the defensive goal face, and the Hawks will try and manufacture something going back the other way here at Morwell in the heart of the Latrobe Valley. It was the home ground of the Gippsland Power in the under-18 competition. The mighty Morwell Tigers as well in the Gippsland League. The stronger clubs over a long period of time. A couple of AFL products from this part of the world. Kick inside the forward 50 has been marked by Callow, who showed us he could kick one at the other end into a tricky wind. What can he do with it at his back here?
Hope he was watching during that 5th period. You've got to start it out to the left. It'll work back left to right. Probably in a good spot to have a ping from there. Definitely get the journey. A couple of nice bits of play from a Hawthorn perspective there. James Blank getting an opportunity, intercept, and then Ned Long out on the outer side set up this scoring shot for Callow.
So Callow comes in. That's a lovely kick as well. So he's showing them how to do it here in this second half of this 6-period game. Hawthorn have been peppering away and have kicked 16 behinds. Callow's got a couple of goals to his name.
Definitely
Andy Otten, isn't it? Yeah, so he's got the Gippsland Power training top on, actually, as well as the former Crow, now part of the Hawthorn coaching setup. It's real umpire yourself at square leg type operation. You just hope, no bias creeps in or anything.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Andy's a fair operator, though.
Balanced for both sides, hopefully.
So the ball up from the... We won't call him the Collingwood. Is that? I reckon that might be Scott Selwood. That's the Collingwood umpire out there in the middle as well.
So yeah, both development coaches
yep.
for the respective sides, both hold the same position. helping these younger developing players for both sides across AFL and VFL lists.
Both went into coaching straight away after footy too. Andy Otten, of course, retired from the Crows in 2019 and straight to the Hawks, and Selwood much the same after finishing up with the Cats. Fergus Green at full forward, can't quite make the best of the opportunity, tried to paddle it out and got tackled rather quickly.
Give it a bounce, Andy.
So Andy Otten goes for the ball up. Lynch is there for the Hawks. Cameron over the top of him. Did he give away a free kick for some high contact? Andy Otten's put the whistle away. He's going to toss it up again.
Looks like a natural out there, making sure no one's going to run into him as he backs out.
Absolutely, and speaking of natural, that's a nice goal from Lynch, who picked it up at the stoppage and just jammed it on the boot, was able to sneak it through.
Yeah, nice piece of ruck work. Just got his opponent out the way, gave himself some room. Picked it up, snapped it round. Been able to find the goals lately. Hawks, after having maybe 11 behinds in a row, they kicked it at one stage during this game. So being able to put a bit of more of a score on the board. Collingwood still leading this game, 21-8, 134 to 13-25, 103 the Hawks, but definitely created enough chances.
Absolutely.
Haven't been able to stick him through the big sticks with this tricky breeze out there today.
Scott Selwood has absolutely commandeered the ball ups too. That's 3 in a row. He's the centre clearance specialist in there among the umpiring fraternity in this last quarter. Guys try and nurse it off half back. Nervous moments for Shields there, who lays a strong tackle. And Andy Otten says, "Give it to me, thanks, gents."
That's about 15 years of experience. I'm not putting my body on the line.
Not in a practice match. Maybe in round 19 if we're, 7th and need a win to get into the finals. But
correct.
Not in a practice match, thank you. As Kelly's the target of the kick. Can't quite drag it in. Wesley Smith on the bench, so to Murley and Poulter, a couple of the young Pies players. And boundary umpire getting an opportunity to sling the footy back in. And at the stoppage for the Hawks to Phillips, whips it around the body on that left boot. Lovely kick. Nice linking up of play here for Hawthorn. Strook kicks inside the 50 and the mark plucked by Fergus Green.
Knows what he's doing inside 50. Fergus had a great year last year with the Hawks.
30 goals in the VFL last year for Fergus Green. Out of the Sandhurst Dragons. Based at the Queen Elizabeth Oval right in the heart of Bendigo. Starts it left, swings it back. Beautiful. He's pretty happy with his work, is Ferg.
Loved it. Really well liked. Really well liked across the Hawthorn and Box Hill lists.
Just rates himself as a bit of a comedian too, does Fergus Green. He's a pretty funny young fella.
Yeah, he gets a bit of airtime on the Box Hill Hawks social media channels. A bit of a go-to, Ferg. Happy to oblige.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Dad was a champion footballer in the Bendigo Footy League. Chris, the uncompromising defender. His brother played some VFL with the Bendigo Gold as a running halfback, and Ferg playing up the other end of the ground as a forward in his junior career and into his AFL career. Andy Otten's taken the ball up duties away from Scott Selwood, back in the middle of the ground. Parsons throws himself at it there for the Hawks. Long's able to take it away. Handball out wide to Phillips. Phillips up toward half forward. Here is Green again. Handball back to Hardwick. Sends it inside the 50. And the mark taken by Magin.
Could they, Joel?
What are they going to need? Another 5? 20 minutes of play left.
Wind at their back.
Could happen. Oh, that's a great mark from Poulter. Has he just dragged that in? What's the boundary umpire going to give him here?
It
doesn't look keen to make a decision, so it sticks. Well done from Caleb Poulter. That deserved that he reached over his head and pulled in the grab. As we see on the replay, yeah, he's well inside the field of play there. That's good boundary umpiring. Long for the Hawks. Tumbles it to half forward. Off hands, Saunders, a little bit of basketball skill to try and dribble it in front of himself. Hack back the other way out of defence for the Pies. High ball toward Begg. Big fist in the pack, out toward the boundary line. Long's been good, showed some real signs. Centres it up nicely.
Yeah, he's been excellent. The longer the game's got, he's dictating everything through the middle for the Hawks. He's getting everything going.
Order to Hardwick. May not feature every week at AFL level, but if you're a Box Hill fan, you'd be looking at Ned Long thinking he's going to be a handy inclusion for us. Another flying shot on goal here for the Hawks. That's a really good kick. And this one has been kicked for Hawthorn by Callum Porter, another of their Box Hill VFL products. Usually plies his trade down back and he sneaks forward for a major.
Well, yeah, I think he's snuck down. Just read the play beautifully. Got involved on the end of it. Here he goes. Another one of the Box Hill listed players getting an opportunity today and making the most of it. And he really enjoyed that. So did all the boys. They look like they're having great fun out there now.
This is on, I reckon.
It's on. We've got a game.
19 points, 19 minutes to go. Consider that earlier in the game, Collingwood led by 73 points at one stage in that third period of play. And they absolutely were dominating.
Yes, just checking some commentary by some Hawthorn people saying that it's a little bit of a trait of Sam Mitchell coach sides that they usually give up a bit of a lead but then come home strong like a train, and a lot of Box Hill boys out there, they're sniffing an opportunity out here now.
I reckon they actually led by 79, in fact, Collingwood. So the margin got as many as 79. It's 19 at the moment. Green handball inside the 50. Goes looking for a teammate on the end of it. Butler dives in. He can't quite rip it away.
Very harsh, the umpire there.
He's played a free kick. So the brother of Dan Butler is Sam.
Yeah.
Out of the Greater Western Victoria Rebels and the Lake Wendouree Footy Club in Ballarat.
Got the number 30 on out there. Really explosive player. Really good goal sense, like his brother. Another one that the Hawks are excited about developing and coming through on their list.
A couple of steps one way and the other at half-back. Holter's got it for the Pies. Got it from teammate in Isaac Chugg. Holter kicks down the line, Cameron up high. Taken off hands by Wilson. Sweeps the handball forward. McInnes might have spent it before he had it. He goes back in and lays the tackle. Not quite in time though. Phillips across half-back here for Hawthorn. That's Ed Phillips. Now working defensively in Tom Phillips. We know what a running machine he is, and Collingwood fans would know that only too well as well. Centering ball taken away for the Pies and chipped inside the forward 50. And now an opportunity for McRae. He's going to dish it off into the pocket and finds a target in McInnes.
Been good, McInnes. Tom Phillips wouldn't be real happy with that kick coming out. Defensive 50, just turned it over. And once you turn it over there, usually it's going straight back over your head for a score. That's what's happened on this occasion. A lot of AFL clubs pride themselves on their forward half turnovers. It's a really big modern footy stat about how you're going, and usually ends up in a goal. That's why it's so important, and the young fella puts it straight through the middle to just give them a little bit more breathing space. Late stages in this game, about halfway through this last term.
Capitalised on that nicely, did McInnes. So margin back out to 25 points. 6-period game. Might have just put an end to our comeback hopes, I think, Steve.
Yeah, it's just sucked the air out of the Hawks, maybe. Just a little bit too little too late, but it has been a fantastic game. We've seen a lot of players out there getting some great experience. Their start to the 2022 campaign.
How do you balance up a side for a game like this? So at the moment we see Phillips and Shields on the ball, and not necessarily in an improving side walk-up starts, but just, you don't want to, I guess, throw the kids to the wolves completely. You need some experience around them.
Yeah, so it's a balance, I think. I think they're out there probably more from a leadership point of view and making sure that they're directing the younger squad out there, just to provide a little bit of direction for them, a bit of encouragement, and to give them some structure and some leadership around the ball. For both sides, there's some more experienced players than others, but mainly this second half of this game has been dominated by the younger brigades of both squads.
Nice pressure from the Pies to force a pretty frenetic passage of play from the Hawks, and Parsons tumbles it toward goal. A couple of kids go racing after that footy behind the goals. Having a little bit of a jostle. Is the youngster going to give it back here or not? Oh, he's trying to get away with it. Might have a sibling chasing after him. Goal umpire's just standing there waiting for it. He's run into the pocket. Oh, he's been tackled. Caught holding the ball, free kick. And it'll be brought back in by Egbalesi Smith. An opportunistic youngster doesn't quite get what he wanted. The former Tiger, Indigo Pioneer, out of the Sunraysia region in Victoria's far northwest, drives it back inside the field of play. Big fly over the back for Collingwood from Ash Johnson. Couldn't reel it in.
Yeah, you've still got Lynch and Hardwick out there for the Hawks, so maybe it's also about just getting game time into some of these guys. They might have had bigger, or their pre-seasons might have been different to the majority of the squad that were playing in the first 3 quarters of this game. So it's very technical these days, very scientific. Everything's tracked and measured. They wear the GPS in their jumpers, tracks how far they go, how fast they go, and so that's on during training as well. So the data boffins will be looking at their computers and pulling the strings behind the scenes just to make sure that everyone's getting enough.
And he also picks out a free kick here, and he's going the way of Hawthorn. No, Collingwood, sorry. Jeez, it's going to be controversial on the car ride home. It's a Hartley. You know, Aiden Begg just coming off the ground a moment ago with what looked to be a pretty sure left shoulder, potentially, and just getting some assessment on the bench there for the Pies in the background. Low kick inside the forward 50 for the Pies. Knocked away. Saunders. Handball just went over his head. Wilson's there for Collingwood to mop it up. Going to get another go here. Paddles it inside the forward 50. Saunders gets back there for the Hawks to send it back the other way. Brown for the Pies. Green is the better of the two on that occasion. And now they go streaming inside the 50 here to the Hawks. Jecker couldn't take the mark, brought it down in front of himself, wheels around onto the left, spears it toward goal. It'll miss to the right-hand side, and our youngster out the back there might get another chance to pinch the footy.
No, the younger kid won the day on that occasion, but he shows some good signs, Jecker. He got some tricks, gets around, very agile, bit of a handful, so...
If you've got him in that forward line alongside the likes of Kajitsky and Gunston, and just as a really mobile half forward, just to provide a little bit of X factor, it's a pretty imposing. I mean, one thing Hawthorn don't lack for is tall marking targets anywhere on the ground. Really.
Lewis as well.
Yep. Sicily and Scrimshaw at the other end, McAvoy around the ground, and Reeves.
Those resting rucks as well. So both sides, to be honest, those bigger guys in the forward line have looked dangerous at different times today.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a free kick here to Louis D'Angelo. And the age of the mullet going on, has gone for the more Vincatoggio version of that. Slightly Leo Sayer-esque take. Loads up on the right boot here. It's a good-looking kick, just hasn't got the carry. Chased into the pocket by Imagine and over the line.
Ferg appealing for deliberate.
It's optimistic at best there from Fergus Green.
He's pleading with Otten.
Spoiled it down, yeah. Hey, coach, what do you reckon?
Any danger?
Ball jucked back in. Here's Saunders again, who's been busy in the last few moments, continuing to run in this final term. Hartley, handball through the traffic. Callum Brown got caught holding the ball, surely. They don't want to pay it to Tom Phillips. He'll be really dirty with Andy Otten. Spiralling kick into the centre of the ground. Come back the other way. Hartley has a go for the Pies. Good fierce bump there. Butler was in there applying some physical pressure for the Hawks. Ground level footy Locked up by a number, including Shields, who's on the bottom of it all, as he so often has been over his 200-plus games. Lynch in ruck for the Hawks. 10 minutes remaining in this 6-period practice game at Morwell on KO Sports. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillam with you. Here's Long, who's shown some real promise. Puts it on the left, trying to curl it back toward goal. High kick up and down the mine shaft to full forward.
It's a great mark.
It's a terrific defensive mark for the Pies by Callan Wellings.
Sarong came off second best in that contest. He's all right. It looks like he's up, but it's a fantastic mark late in this game, going back with the flight.
Another one of their VFL prospects.
These young blokes look good today too.
Absolutely. He's had some experience at the top level as Caleb Poulter, 11 games last season. Hard to miss with that flowing hair. Gee, Johnson gets another really good run and jump at the footy. Plays a lot taller than he is. He's got some real athletic ability, and he gets a look at it. Free kick paid by the umpire Scott Selwood on that occasion. McInnes kicks to half forward. The Pies can move it here. Kelly rolls around onto the right boot. There's the kick across the 50. It's an interesting option in the end. Coming out to meet it is Thorpe. Paddles it inside the centre square. And the Hawks have got runners out here everywhere. And they'll move it forward with pace. A bounce for Parsons, who enters the 50, draws the opponent, uses his craft to kick the goal. He knows how to make the defenders a little bit nervous when he's got the ball in hand. The margin back to 17 points.
Just run and gun style footy off half back, just bash and crash it forward, and Hawks forwards were out everywhere. Collingwood had really pushed up, and then Matchin's caught in no man's land between the goal square being the goalkeeper, but then not rushing at Parsons, and he played it beautifully. Parsons, very experienced in that situation, summed it up beautifully and snapped it through.
So I guess some broad takeaways from the game, Stephen Gillam. Collingwood, the way they moved the ball in that opening half of the match was outstanding.
It was really, really impressive. We're playing 30-minute quarters, and the A-grade side, if you like, playing up against the Hawthorn probables. There's just lots to like. They were scoring very quickly. Elliott started it, lit the fuse. Those prime movers in the middle, the Dacos brothers were getting involved. It was, one of the highlights of the match for mine was when Josh gave it to Nick and he sealed it as the Hawks kick another one. That's a Ducci. Tom Phillips, on the left. Making a late charge with the wind.
So within 2, still could happen.
Absolutely. Coming home like a train. The Hawks.
They kicked 6 in this final period of play here to the Pies 1.
It was so long ago that first 3 quarters. I'm struggling to remember what happened. But
so Jamie Elliott kicked 3 goals in that opening term for the Pies. Jack Ginnivan kicked a couple as well for Collingwood. They kicked 7 in total. They kicked 6 in the second term. And Hawthorn got the first goal of both quarters, remarkably. So in the first minute in each of those quarters, they kicked the first goal. Collingwood kicked the next 7 in the first quarter and the next 6 in the second term.
Yeah, and that's sort of a little bit the worry for the Hawks, that they just couldn't stem the flow after the first 2 or 3. Usually in AFL footy, after the opposition kick 2 or 3, you usually send someone behind the footy, or you just lock it down in the middle and try and play a bit more composed. But I guess Sam would have gone into the game with a certain style of how we wanted to play, and it wasn't necessarily about the score today. Hey!
Johnson with a massive rise again.
Just spilt it, but that would have been... He's threatened to do that 2 or 3 times today. He'll grab one. He'll win Mark of the Year.
At some level of football, whether it's AFL
You'll
or
see
VFL.
it on AFL Footy Legends,
Yep.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Here we go again. He almost...
Just the spring. Oh.
That is a proper hang.
The runway as well. I reckon this is Booth in the number 2. Only Collingwood player that we haven't seen out there. Kicked a goal a couple of weeks ago in their intra-club early on in the piece. That's an absolute cop to the full forward, and it's worked out beautifully. Just like he drew it up. And Murley's on the end of it for the Pies.
Luck's a fortune, but in front, first to react are usually the forwards. Early with an opportunity just to put one through late on in this game.
49th pick in the draft last year. South Australian product on the right boot, hits the post. And that one wouldn't have counted in our revamped rules because it went through. So does it go through?
That's
for
a goal?
It goes through for a goal.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if it goes through, even if it hits the post,
Right.
it's a goal.
Soccer style.
Yeah,
Yep.
but if it hits the upright and comes back in, then play on.
So the first
Barrel.
Oh, the tube.
It's gone to the middle.
That's a nice kick from Hardwick. He's really launched into that with the breeze, and Andy Otten's plucked out a free kick the other way straight away.
I don't think he's paid one free kick to Hawthorn. He's sort of like going too far the other way now.
Yep. The gig's up, Andy. We know what's going on. All out wide. Gee, that was uncompromising stuff there from Isaac Chug and Lockie Wind, who ran into one another.
Very competitive for 3 minutes to go.
Absolutely. See the barrel again from Hardwick.
We need to see more of this.
That's a good tube.
If you've got it in your kit bag, get it out.
Absolutely.
Especially with a 5 or 6 goal breeze from left to right to your right hand screen here. But
The Pies work it inside the 50 again. Here is Johnson. He's created some magic a couple of times and not quite made it work so far. He runs around, he goes the fend, he feeds it back, and it's not quite there for the Pies. It'll go out of play for a throw-in. So the first half for Hawthorn, even in that second period of play, 2 goals, 5 they ended up with. So plenty of opportunities, but just not able to capitalise on them.
yeah, and that's a silver lining, I think. They were creating as much opportunity going the other way. They just weren't able to nail those opportunities. And the ones they were getting, they were just having to work really hard. And Collingwood seemed to be rewarded because they were getting into better spots. And the Collingwood players delivering the ball inside 50 just had a lot better options going forward than what Hawthorn did. And, I mean, that is the challenge for Hawthorn, is to be able to work together. That young forward line that's coming through now with Dylan Moore and Jacob Kazitsky and Mitch Lewis, and Luke Bruce wasn't out there today. He'll be back. But it was great to see Jack Gunston out there. He'll help stiffen them up and help those guys, because in the opposition they'll be putting their number one defender on Jack Gunston and your Luke Bruce, and that'll hopefully, for Cozzy and Mitch Lewis, free them up a little bit.
I'll give you a little while to think about it. From either side today, though, I think maybe a young player that caught your eye, and then a player who maybe we know but we saw the best of this afternoon is Johnson, who we've really liked his contribution. Kicks inside the 50. Kelly couldn't mark. Beggs back out there, which is good to see for the Pies, but his kick cut off by Ed Phillips. Of course, Jamie Elliott with the 5 goals. Taylor Adams was busy in the middle. And, I mean, everyone expected a lot of Nick Dacos, didn't they? And I think he delivered on the promise in his first outing. So much to like about that Collingwood first half. As here's Fergus Green, who can't take the mark, but he'll run into an open goal. He almost dropped it off the end of his boot there, and he's going to sprint back to the middle and get things moving to try and draw this up, Fergus Green. He whacks it into the centre and says, let's go, boys. 6 points in it. And I don't think he's getting a lot of love from anyone around the ground.
They're not catching on, Ferg.
It's almost like when you score the goal, the late goal to make it 2-1 in a game of the round ball code, and then you take the ball out of the net and sprint back to the middle.
I love this, though.
Bit of enthusiasm.
Yeah, he's having a bit of fun out there. He's loving it.
So a minute left. Can the Hawks get a late equaliser here after trailing by 79 points in the opening half? Phillips goes inside the 50. Fergus Green, he wanted to keep things going. He tumbles it toward goal and ties it up. Unbelievable scenes at Morwell.
Now they're up and about. Shields running back to the middle.
They're keen to move
Butler.
things on quickly now. Fergus
They're a
Green
sniff.
sprinted back to the centre, kicks his third. And after Hawthorn trailed by 79 points in the first half, it's all square at 141.
bit of bragging rights, even though it's a practice game.
They need the quickest goal of all time, or the quickest score of all time out of the centre here, both sides. Cameron in ruck. Wins it down. The Hawks will surge it forward, but not in time. So a rather entertaining end to the 6-period practice match at Morwell, in which Collingwood's A side dominated the opening 3 periods. Kicked 18 goals in the first 3 periods of the game, did the main group of Pies, and then the Hawks rattled home late, and Fergus Green with a late equaliser to tie it at 1:41 apiece to wrap things up here at Morwell in this practice match for season 2022. It was an entertaining finish to what was certainly, especially if you're a Pies fan, an entertaining game. Joel Peterson and Steve Gillum with you. So who caught your eye from a Collingwood perspective first of all, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Jamie Elliott. He lit the fuse early. He just looks primed for a big season, and I hope that, for footy's sake, but Pies supporters will just be hoping that he's out there more often than not for the Pies. They had a lot of good forwards. They've kicked 22 goals. They spread it around a little bit, but for mine, he looked like he was really primed out there today for that first 3 quarters. He really impressed me. In terms of someone we're only sort of seeing a little bit of so far, was Henry for the Pies. I just liked the way he moved. There was a couple of things he did that you can just tell that he'll be fine at the level, and if he continues on that trajectory, he'll be a really exciting player. Obviously, his brother Jack at Geelong is emerging into a bit of a star for them. So if he can be anything like that for the Pies, they've found one there. On the other side of the things, I thought James Worpel really impressed me for the Hawks, especially in that second quarter. He was involved, he was kicking goals, he was doing the hard things, he was, setting the tone basically on and off the footy when the Hawks didn't have it, but when they had it, he got forward, hit the scoreboard and worked really hard. So I know he's setting himself for a massive year after winning the BNF a couple of years ago, to really hit back strongly. And the emerging player from a brown and gold point of view, I thought, was John Newcomb. So he was exposed at AFL level a handful of times last year, and was known for his debut of having the most tackles on debut of any player and doing that hard stuff. But I think he'll be able to retain that. But I think what he's hopefully going to add to his game this season is his outside run and carry. So he can win the ball in tight in the contested situation, but I think he's actually got enough leg speed, and having another pre-season under his belt, dropping a little bit of weight, will be able to break the lines and hit the scoreboard hopefully for the Hawks.
There's a lot to like out of both sides. Successful return for Sicily and Gunston for the Hawks as well. Dacos gets through. They blood Kruger, the Pies. Lipinski was excellent in the opening half, and they saw enough from some of their kids too to be pretty encouraged by what you've seen if you're a Pies fan. So 5 goals to Jamie Elliott, 3 goals to Ginnivan, to Myercheck, to Cox, a couple to Nathan Kruger, who was impressive, a really good goal to Nick Dacos, and one to Lipinski among the main players for Collingwood. Kajitsky ended up with one for the Hawks. Dylan Moore with a couple, and he was really lively inside the forward 50. Liam Shields, Jackson Callow, Seamus Mitchell among the goal kickers. Ned Long was in there too, so too Worpel and Lewis, and then some of the VFL players getting involved late to hit the scoreboard for the Hawks and drag it back. So the Hawks have Richmond next week as part of the community series, which will be a great event down there in Devonport, and Collingwood to face GWS, and they'll do so with Isaac Quainer, which was really probably the big injury talking point out of the match with his concussion. But apart from that, thankfully, no other big casualties.
Yeah, it looks like it. Connor Nash with a bandage on his knee, we can see walking off there, but he looks pretty happy. Both camps look pretty happy. They'll journey back down the highway, rest up this weekend, and get ready for their respective community series games next week.
Good fun, Steve. Thanks for your company. Thanks for everyone at home tuning in via KO Sports. It was a really entertaining first half if you were a Collingwood fan. 18 goals. They got out to a 79-point lead, and the Hawks dragged it back late. The persistence paid off of the young Hawks side. They tied it up at 141 to finish at Morwell. Plenty more action coming your way across the course of the weekend on KO Sports as the AFL practice matches continue, as we continue to prep for season 2022. But for now, that's all from Morwell here on KO Sports.